Hi everyone, I'm back with my runner half to the worst cards in the game of Netrunner up to the spin cycle. For the runner side, I found that narrowing the list down to the top 5 worst cards was slightly harder than that of the corp side. Once again, if you haven't seen the corp half to the top 5 worst cards, you should definitely go check it out. Basically, these are the cards that I'll be more than happy to ship back to FFG in return for more copies of 1-offs and 2-offs such as Desperado and Sansan City Grid. I'll be totally fine with removing these cards from my possession and getting more useful ones in return. But anyway, now I'm stuck with them, so I'm here to write about them and talk about how bad, how horrible they are. Whether you're playing draft or regular Netrunner, these are cards that you never want to pick up. What do you think are the worst cards in Netrunner? Take a moment to think about it, and we'll see how similar our thoughts are. So, without further ado, let's begin. In 5th place, we have, surprise, surprise, Hard at Work. I mean, everyone knows this is a bad card. Paying 5 as a down payment just to get 2 credits every turn at the cost of a click is horrible. It's put it this way. Wildside, one of the most efficient card draws engines in the game, and still many Anarchs don't play it simply because of the restriction of having to lose a click every turn, let alone playing Hard at Work as well. However, I think many of you are surprised that Hard at Work isn't higher up on the list. And my reasoning for it is this. While it is indeed a horrible card and shouldn't really be played, I feel that its horribleness has been overly hyped up in the forums, and it has been hailed as the worst card ever in many places. But I think that isn't the case. There are worse cards out there, and I'm about to show you what they are. But for now, we'll leave Hard at Work as number 5. What's up there at number 4? Well, it's Reconstructor. It's Shaper hardware released in the same data pack as Hard at Work, which is Second Thoughts in the spin cycle. Now, I can scratch my head for an entire hour staring at my laptop screen, and I still cannot think of a way to make this card work. Why would you ever run this card? The problem is, you are sending a card from the opponent's archives onto their R&D so that they can use it again. Most likely, the cards in their archives are cards that they want to use. Operations like Hedge Fund, Sweep, Restructure. Why would you ever send them back to the top of the stack? I have no clue. It might be useful late game for stalling the run, for stalling the corp, since they are forced to draw through even more cards. But then there's the problem that nowadays corp draws tend to be very efficient, like with Jackson Howard and all the level clearances from HB. So it's really not, card draw really isn't a problem for corps anymore. And I expect that as card draw gets better and better for the corps, this card will become more and more obsolete as the game goes on. And of course, don't forget that with Jackson Howard out, the R&D can be reshuffled anytime the corp so chooses, nullifying the effect of Reconstructor. So all in all, it's a trash card that is completely useless unless you are building around this card, in which case your deck is completely useless. So that's number 4 for the worst runner cards in the game. What's above there at number 3? Well, we are looking at Force of Nature. It's a card that was printed very early on, a study in static, that's the data pack, and it's an Anarch code gate breaker. For a cost of 5, the same as York, what do you get? You get a 1 strength decoder. Sheesh. If there was an adjective more severe, more intense than the word lackluster, I'd be using it right here. This is just plain horrible. I've seen some online videos of people drafting, and even though they have no decoders, I think most people would rather use Crypsis over drafting a Force of Nature into the pack. That's how bad Force of Nature is. Seriously, it's horrible. I don't think I need to explain it any further. Even all the other inefficient code gate breakers out there, such as Leviathan, Peacock, even restrictive ones like Cyber Cypher, and even expensive ones like Torch, all of these trump Force of Nature. Force of Nature is so bad that it's only rated at 1 influence. Although I guess that doesn't say much since York is rated the same way. Anyway, this card speaks for itself. I don't need to explain it any further. It's a horrible card that has existed since goodness knows when. And I think most people have forgotten about its existence. That's how bad it is. Alright, so that's number 3 in the worst cards for Runner. What's number 2? It's the newly released card, Starlight Crusade Funding, a neutral resource that was released in Double Time. Oh, sorry, it was released in True Colors, my bad. Yep, Starlight Crusade Funding rewards you for playing double events. Oh wait, no, it doesn't reward you. It just mitigates the click loss that you spend from installing this card. Oh, and by the way, it works like hard at work too. You lose a click at the start of each turn. Horrible, horrible card. I don't have to explain this anymore. It suffers from the same drawback as hard at work, which is pretty huge. And right now, up to the spin cycle, with the combination of double events that are out in the card pool, there is no way you can come up with a combination of double events that can fit within the influence limit of a deck that is even semi-viable, semi-playable. The doubles right now are just too weak and don't synergize at all with each other, save for Power Net. So, no go for this card. Maybe in a few cycles time. But for now, it's number 2 on my list. There's only one card that is worse than Starlight Crusade Funding that no one will ever play, and I think you don't really know what it is either because you haven't really seen it. What is it? Here it is. It's Disruptor. What's that? Good question. I'll tell you. It's a Anarch program from A Study in Static. Incidentally, the same data pack that came out with Force of Nature. Man, Anarchs are really getting the blunt end of the stick here. What does it do? It prevents a trace and restarts it at a base strength of 0. Now, I think many casual players will not actually know this, but the official ruling on Disruptor is that the effect must occur when the trace is initiated, not after the corp bids, which means that you cannot force the corp to pay credits on their trace and then nullify it with Disruptor, which is such a huge pity since had it worked that way, it would actually be a very interesting and useful way to counter trace-based flatlines such as punitive counter-strike and mid-season replacements. Instead, you can only change the base value of the trace from its original value to 0. That is all. That makes it very weak because most traces in game are trace 2s and trace 3s. You are essentially saving 1 or 2 credits since it's an install cost of 1. The bigger traces like Foxfire are useless. The only meaningful big traces are punitive counter-strike and mid-season replacements. And even for those, you'll be much better off including an economy card instead, like Lucky Find, like Sure Gamble. Instead, you're playing this stupid program that costs 1 memory unit, is trashed after it is resolved, and does almost nothing. The corp is just gonna laugh at you when you play it. Maybe it's good for mind games. It's good to make the corp think that you're a noob, you're stupid, you're new to the game, when in fact you have some dirty tricks up your sleeve. I might consider that in my noise blackmail deck to throw the corp off. But other than that, this card is absolutely, definitely, most precisely worthless. It well and truly deserves to be the most useless of useless Netrunner cards. That's all I have. Thanks for listening to my rant. Bye.